Hello everyone! As I've mentioned a couple of times, I have won the housing lottery here in NYC. That means cheap apartments in the greatest city in the world. I'm going to take you through the process, all my pitfalls and failures so that you can get the housing you deserve. If you could like and subscribe, that really helps the channel. So let's get into it. Okay, first you want to go to the Housing Connect website. Please note there are two of them now. So this is the old one, the legacy one here. And then there's also a new one, which is this Housing Connect 2. So it's housingconnect.nyc.gov. This will have all the new ones on it. This one has the old ones. And as we speak right now, on August the 19th, this one still has some housing available. So, you know, you'll make your account. I've already got one, obviously. You'll sign in. Then you go to search. And this is going to show you a list of housing that you can apply for. You'll see I've applied for a ton here. Something to note, these numbers down the side here, these are your log numbers. So the lower the log number, the better chance that you'll get an email or a letter in the mail saying that you've been picked for further processing. So 33,000 is not that good. 2,000 is okay. You want to get as close to zero as possible. So when you go, so let's pick this, the Strand in Ridgewood, click it. It'll open up a second thing here, which says what the parameters are for affordable housing. So they're mainly about the area median income. So this one, they're looking for people who have 130% of the area median income. That would be for a studio between $61,612 and $103,480. That's for one person. Then if you have two people, obviously it's a little bit broader and you'd be paying this monthly rent. Now, this is the 421A tax incentive program. So these are all rent stabilized, which means that the rent can only go up yearly what the rent stabilization board says that it can. Typically around 2%. Because of coronavirus, they're freezing it at 0% this year. So, you know, right now this is kind of expensive, but if you think 10 years down the track, at the regular way that things might start to go up, this will stay relatively low. So you go back to this place here, and then you'll click on the apply button, right? So, and this is pretty simple. You type in your, your email, your login there, but you want to make sure that you have the right income. So here, $61,612. So let's go over here to edit profile. Let's go to household income. This is mine. So with this older one, you can change it around. So at the moment it's set for $36,400. That's what I actually anticipate I'm going to earn this year. But a big thing to think about with these housing lotteries is your income's going to change over time. It can sometimes take 2 years, up to 2 years before you get an email saying that you've qualified for this. And that's a number of, there's a number of reasons why that can happen. Things like they reach out to people don't respond to the emails, they reach out to people, their income is wrong, they reach out to people just don't want it. So with this one, if you anticipate that you're going to earn $61,000 within the next 12 to 24 months, what you can do is you can just edit this number here. So I'm just going to do it. I don't anticipate I'm going to earn $62,000 in the next 2 years, but you know, I want to do it. So let's say, is it $1,200? There we go, 62,000. Save and continue. Then you just go back to the search and you apply and submit. Then you're going to get a screen like this. It says, "Hey, look, you've applied. Fantastic. That's awesome." Right? So now, when they reach out to me in 12 months, maybe I haven't made the $62,000, so I just let it go. Or I say I don't want it, or whatever. But maybe I am closer to that amount in 2 years' time. So I might actually qualify. Let's log out of this one. And let's go to number 2 here. So logging into number 2. This one is a lot more streamlined. This one will take over once those lotteries on the old Housing Connect expire. And with these ones, it's a lot more fancy. It looks nicer, all that sort of stuff. You can't really change your income on this one because it all updates automatically. So it's actually nicer in that regard. If your income drops, as mine will this year because of my business being shut down, I'm going to qualify for cheaper apartments, but it'll update in real time. So say I get a windfall, so somehow I get a job that pays me $80,000 next year, I can just go straight in here, you know, my account, sorry, my household, and you can edit your income here. As you see, I have $35,000 on mine, which I think is probably what I'm going to get. So let's go back to the open lotteries. I've already applied for a bunch of these, but this one's quite fancy. So let's go to this one here. And this one's easier. See, sometimes the eligibility is quite broad, which I really like because it means that you're going to fit in between a large amount of income. Here, it'll tell you about what units they are, 60% of area median income, so they're way cheaper. So you really want to fit between 28 and 47,000, and you'll get a super cheap apartment in an amazing building in Williamsburg. So let's shoot on over to one that I've actually been picked in. So these are the Putnam affordable apartments. These ones are slightly different. It's a different tax abatement, but it is still the same situation. So you'll get an email like this. Typically, you know, something affordable apartments, requested documents, log number 4063. It'll be addressed to you. You go down, your log number will be here. If you want to look at the stuff, it's typically got something you can click on, which will show you what it is. So they're looking for 150% of median income, around $57,000 to $112,000 for a studio, and it goes up from there. Another thing to note is that a lot of these are they have preferences. So you'll see up here, there's a preference for mobility disabled applicants, 5%, vision hearing, 2%. A lot of them also put aside 50% for people living in the community board zone. So this one is in Ridgewood. I don't live in that community board zone. I live in Williamsburg, which is Brooklyn Community Board Zone number 1. But that means that you will get a priority over other people, so your log number can be much higher in order to qualify for these apartments. That's something to think about. So go back over here. You've got all the things you need to do. Then you look down here and they'll have the request of document list. Click on that and it's going to give you a list like this. They all look pretty much the same. Now, a lot of it's quite straightforward. We got this household questionnaire, which these guys have, which not a lot of them have, but it's pretty straightforward. It's just saying your name, your date of birth, social security, blah, blah, blah. What do you want? All that sort of stuff. And you just authorize it. Now, 6 consecutive pay stubs if you're employed. These are all for normal W-2 employees, that kind of stuff, pretty straightforward. Letter from employer saying that, you know, you work for them. Like this. The really big, the good thing here is if you're self-employed, you actually have a lot more leniency with this kind of stuff because you can estimate forward. And all you need to do with that is get your CPA or tax preparer, or you can do a notarized self-statement saying how much you expect to earn. Now, a big thing to remember here, and this is really important, the people looking at this when they get the documents are pencil pushers. I'm not saying that they're bad people, they're not, but they're literally just ticking boxes. They just want to get the apartment filled. So you need to do all of the creative thinking for them. A good example of this is I qualified for an affordable apartment a couple of years ago, but I was working gig working. So I was working many, many, many different jobs and it was seasonal as well. So I definitely qualified with my income, but because I just worked a major gig before I put in my papers, I was disqualified because I thought I was going to be richer than I ended up being. If I had have known about this back then and known I could just do a notarized self-statement back then, I would be in that apartment right now. So you got to do the thinking for them, answer the questions, get ahead of the questions. So if there is on your tax return from last year a job that you don't work anymore, write a letter, include it with your application, saying that I do not work for X workplace anymore. Otherwise, they will just automatically add it, and it might put you over the income restriction or under in certain places. You just have to fall within to the dollar within the amount that it says on this form here. So I could earn $57,000 and I wouldn't qualify. So if I think my income is going to be $57,000, if I can find $155 from anywhere just to get me there, do it. Okay, so back to this. This is all pretty straightforward. You just basically have to give them, everything in the kitchen sink. Lots of documents, but they're only going to look at them really with a cursory glance. The only thing I've had trouble with in the past, as I just said, is I had employers that I used to work for that I didn't work for at the time, and there was some confusion about that. You don't want to get into a place where you apply, you get rejected, and then you have to appeal. Because what happens then is, once you've been rejected, they immediately move on. The success rate of an appeal is incredibly low because they have no incentive to get you back in the room. So you have to answer all of their questions right here and don't miss any of these documents. So I typically create a different folder for each of them. So I've got all these old ones on hand from ones I've done before. The rent I've paid, my social security, my birth certificate, a notarized Con Ed bill, bank statements. Just have them ready to go. And then, as I said, you want to answer all their questions for them. So I'm going to include things like my year-to-date earnings, estimated forward earnings. I'm going to write a letter and say, I think I'm going to earn this much money. With this Putnam affordable one, this is for a bunch of different buildings. It was a wait list one. They're all in East Harlem, so 102nd Street on the east side and above. But it's a pretty exciting thing. So you'll see here, look, it's like 4 or 5 different buildings. So the chances of me, if I qualify on a dollar basis of getting in are really high. Also something to think about. You might be single when you apply for this, but then suddenly you have a partner and you think, well, I don't necessarily earn the $57,000, but if me and my partner go together, we can get above that $57,000. Now, the thing with that is you have to prove that this is your partner. So if you've got a lease together, a bank account together, any sort of official, some sort of bill, anything that can prove that you two are a couple, because, it's open, obviously, for fraud. So that's it. Pretty simple. I think the biggest thing to remember is that these guys are just pencil pushers. They want to give you the apartment, so make it easy for them. Answer the questions that you think they will have for you ahead of time so you can get through it cleanly and get into the apartment that you love. Thank you so much for watching. If you would like and subscribe, ask me any questions in the comments, and I'll be back in a bit. Thanks. Bye.
And it's a ticket talking, miles for the figures. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. And it's a ticket talking.